I did not grow up in good financial situations in life, right? My dad took off when I was 4 years old. So again, financially poor most of my life. I never wanted to go into entrepreneurship. One customer, and you can make $250,000 USD, every year. Elon Musk was invisible until he sold PayPal. Nobody sees the work that goes in the beginning. There's invisible doors in our life. At some point in your life, they will unlock. And the whole thing is, were you ready for it? Because everything that happened in my life happened on the opposite side of fear.
So I got a couple of questions for you today, and hopefully these questions, and what I normally do is, recently I've started sort of like having conversations with people before they actually go on the podcast, because it helps me find a better angle and it helps me ask better questions during the podcast. And again, I fully appreciate you reaching out. I think I fully respect that, and I do want. How did you find me?
My assistant helped me. So I have an assistant that is based out of Nigeria that reached out to you and got us connected.
That's cool. So the email I received was from your assistant.
From my assistant.
That's okay. That's cool. That's
She's
cool.
great. She's an amazing lady, phenomenal. Yeah, so she's been helping me get onto different podcasts, and she was actually working with me on my software company. So again, talk about pivots. Okay, so pivot. She was working with me on the software company. We ran into some problems with our developers, and so we had to transition and switch to a different company. And so our project got delayed, and I'm like, okay, how do I keep her employed? Right? She's an amazing lady. I didn't want to like say, hey, sorry, we don't have work for you. And so then I just said, okay, hey, we have this logistics sales platform. Can you help me on this side? And hey, maybe we'll try to promote it on different podcasts. So she was able to help me on that. So I kind of helped her set that part up. And then, yeah, it was just like a pivot, right? So it was just more, when you have good people, you don't want to let them go. When you have good people that are doing good, you also want to support them. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I start by saying that I've looked a bit into you, and I said you're cool. I listened to that one episode that you went on a podcast with, and I thought you were saying some very interesting and some cool stuff. Um, the first question I want to ask you is, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Because obviously there's things that you might say now that I might be like, oh, this is new, this is cool, this is interesting. Because obviously your LinkedIn, the company, and watching an episode can only give me so much information.
Yeah, so just again about myself, if you probably heard one of the episodes, I did not grow up in good financial situations in life. So I grew up with a single mom, right? My dad took off when I was 4 years old. So again, financially poor most of my life. Wasn't allowed to work until later in life. And so, yeah, a lot of times, I got into work and employment situations just to try to earn my money to finish my schooling because I really wanted to finish, my post-secondary. Because one of the biggest things when it comes to even getting married, sometimes or growing up after high school, you think about that, like, yeah, who does somebody want to marry their daughter to, right? The first thing they're going to ask you is, okay, what do they do as a job, maybe, and what's their education? So those are usually the biggest two qualifiers, right? And third one could be, do they have a good family, right? So I'm like, okay, man, like, okay, my dad's already, single parent household, okay, big X on that side. And then you see on the other side, it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of X's that were kind of going against me. And so I had to figure out, okay, I got to make a pathway for myself. I got to figure out how to create financial freedom in my life, or just even get like proper jobs. I was just trying to find a career path. And that was really, what I was trying to do for the first part of my life. I didn't know, right, about what type of job I was going to go into. I didn't know what I was going to do for schooling. I tried different courses. I didn't really know what to really go after, right? So there was no real guidance. People, you do these little surveys in class and career personal planning classes, but then like it's like, oh, you're going to be a thanatologist, which is like somebody that helps like people at the morgue, and cope with losses. And I'm like, I don't know if that's really for me, like yeah, I don't know, right? So instead, so like, I mean, it was really hard to find like my pathway in life. And then when I got into transportation logistics, it was all by accident. Had a bunch of bad experiences. I never wanted to go into entrepreneurship. Got into entrepreneurship. Realized how beautiful entrepreneurship could be after going through a lot of the struggles. And and that was something that I just wanted to teach people and say, hey, you know what? Like, there's this whole world of opportunities, and it doesn't have to be entrepreneurship. It could be just learning how to leverage your skill and your skill sets that you've learned in life, and how to create more value for them. And so again, for me, it's like increasing, decreasing the gap between the rich and the poor, and trying to say, okay, how do we balance this out? How do we start spreading the wealth? And so that was kind of what, I kind of went towards, and said, hey, there's enough to go around for a lot of people. For example, like I just gave you that example of one customer, and you can make $250,000 USD, every year. And that's, sorry, even more than that, right? Because that's only a portion of their business, right? And so you just realize, like, what potential is there, and how come we never really saw these opportunities in life? How come no one told us about these opportunities? Or if people told us, how come we didn't really see it? And so for me, it was just about teaching that and saying, hey, yeah, this is possible all around us. It's a matter of just, of how we think. And so, like, when's the last time you stepped into an industrial area to study all the different businesses that are there? When's the last time you looked and said, oh, yeah, how does the water even come to my tap? Where does it come from? How is it even filtered? Who's doing this? Where's the system? I can't see. I just turn on the tap and everything comes. So again, understanding. So it's start questioning things in life, right? So that was more of what I wanted to kind of teach people, is we have to expand our mindset. And when we expand our mindset, we allow more to come in. And that's just like opportunities. Every time we go and learn something, more doors open to us. And so I want to just be able to show people, like, hey, don't be afraid to learn something new. Don't be afraid to face your fears, because everything that happened in my life happened on the opposite side of fear, right? Fear of public speaking was another one for me. And so that was something I never wanted to get into. I was always trying to hide behind the scenes. I liked hiding behind the scenes, did not like being in the forefront, right? Because again, growing up financially poor, a lot of programming, right? Growing up colored skin and lots of programming. So you just felt like everything was already against you in life, and then you had to break through to be like, oh, somebody does want to listen to me? Okay, I have something valuable to say. And then again, so you have this imposter syndrome. You don't see yourself in that light. A lot of times we can see other people in that light, but we can't see ourselves. It's easier to see other people, right? But then, again, what is that really telling us? So if we learn how to understand some of the language, some of those signals, we can start looking back at our own life. And that's why, our program does too, because we have worksheets, and our worksheets say, what are you going to do? Okay, you're watching this, but what are you going to do now? Right? So we're always trying to get people to think about the small steps, right? Just to get them to start thinking. And we think that if they think long enough, and, they follow us week to week, that they're probably going to take some chances, or they're probably going to learn something that's going to help them somewhere in their life. And they got to figure that part out. We're not going to tell them. Again, I'm not going to tell people to become a thanatologist, like I was told, right? But I'm going to say, hey, you are smart enough and capable enough, if you start tapping into yourself, to figure out your pathway. And we'll teach you and give you all the resources that you need to be able to help you along that journey, and hopefully nurture you along that journey so you can learn for yourself. And, similar to the two stories I told you when we started, right? So going back to Luca, he just came down from like the worst time in his possible life, right? Family business, having to declare bankruptcy, having to shut down everything, put so many years into something, and you saw it go to zero. Okay? So that's one aspect of looking at it. The other aspect of looking at that and saying, hey, now I've got a new opportunity to start brand new. And, if I look at this as a loss, it's not really a loss. It's I gained so much experience in that. Because he gained so much experience in that, that's why he's killing it now. That's why his first week was successful. It wasn't because he had a bad business. It's just he was in the wrong environment. Same guy. Now he's super profitable, and he's just learning. That's his 1 week, right? So same person, but he had to, if he felt down about himself and he just thought the world was over because everything just went down the drain, how many people do not get back up? Right? So that's what makes it relatable, is saying, hey, we need to get up. We need to wake up. It's not the end of the world if something bad happens in life, right? All those setbacks are setups, and that's, another example, like, real life example, like right now, right? 1 week, a couple days, right? So that's essentially, nonstop, right? And anytime we go through a bad situation in life, we just can't stay down there too long. It's about that getting up ability to kind of get going. And that's again, we need each other as a community for that support. And people that, again, like you said, people that we could relate to, people that understand what we've been through, people that can really break it down on a very basic level and just say, hey, man, like we're all there. We're all in the same situation, man. Like we're not different from each other. We think we might be, but we're really not. We're all going through the same things, right? So that's more or less what I want to really let people know, because it's hard to watch people suffer,
I see,
right?
and that's a very
Yeah.
nice mission to have, a nice purpose. And I think one of the things you said in the episode I was listening to was that I'm trying to remember how you phrased it, but the core idea was if you just take from the world, there's only a finite number of things you can take. You also have to
Yeah.
give back. You also have to create. And I think what you were saying in that episode, which was that once you start creating, whether it's things for yourself but also opportunities for others, that will pay you back. Because that one
Yeah.
person that you helped maybe down the road, that one person you helped at some point, 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, might come back and say, hey, Damon, check this opportunity out, or hey, there's this thing that I think would be
Yeah.
great for you, which is absolutely interesting. One thing about the podcast. So the podcast, I started this podcast a year ago. The whole idea was relatability, and the whole idea was how can I put the everyday person in a position where they can give value. And this whole thing started from Dario Vesio, because do you know Dario Vesio?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people don't. I have to check. Obviously, his whole thing is he takes world-renowned experts, CEOs, directors, business people, and puts them in a position where, right, talk me about what you're really good at. But the beginning of the sentence was world-renowned people. So wait a second. Does that mean that only those sort of people can give value to others? What about you and me, Damon? You've helped that kid.
Yeah.
Do you become so successful in the past week than ever before, which means you've got a lot of value to say. So the whole idea started as, right, how can I put the everyday person in a position where they can give value? And now I've got to a point where the way I do that, or the current way I'm trying to do that, is I'm trying to focus on one thing. So I had a very nice lady who came onto the podcast, and she is a tour guide. So all she does all day is she goes out. I live in Bath in the United Kingdom. She goes out in the city of Bath and she gives tours to people and talks about the history of Bath, talks about the different things that we have around here. And I went to one of those tours actually, and
Oh, neat.
I'm not a tour guide. I don't like visiting that much. If you put me in a museum, I'll watch those portraits and I'll be like, yeah, sure. I'll just walk around for like hours and I'll be like, yeah, okay, fine. Don't care too much. But I went onto a tour and she gave the tour, and the way she was just like doing the whole tour was incredible. The way she was telling the stories and how she engaged with everyone on the tour was absolutely incredible. So 6 months later, when into my podcast, I was like, I need to get her because she was so cool. So that whole episode was her talking about storytelling and how one person can maybe get better at it. So that's where I am right now. How can?
Can I ask you a few questions about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
So one question is, how amazing is it to learn about this city that you live in?
Exactly. I think I don't think I yet fully appreciate about learning the history of the city I live in. So I'm from Romania. I'm from Bucharest, and if you ask me anything about Bucharest, I'll be like, I can't really tell you. But right, I've been living in the city in Bath for the past 6 years, and I still can't tell you much about the
Okay.
history. But I went onto that tour, for example, and I can still remember a couple of things. And when I go around the city, if I get a chance, if I'm with one of my friends, I'll be like, "Do you see that? Yeah, what's that? Well, let me tell you what that is, because I remember it from the tour." And it's so good. It's so fulfilling that, because history is a very nice thing if you're into it. It's a really nice thing.
Yeah. So second thing also about that is does it remind you of how lucky you are to be in that place? Do you think
Oh,
that it made you more attached to the city, or do you think it how did that make you feel? Did you like does it make you feel prouder about that city, or does it make you want to learn more about the city? How did that make you feel afterwards about your city?
you know what? I don't actually know. I never asked myself that. I think I think with me and history in general, and I guess knowing things about your city, I think in this particular case, I think it's cool to know that. So it's not necessarily making
Mhm.
me like feel proud, at least not yet, you know. I think it's just like, oh,
Okay.
that's a cool thing to know. Like that's a fact. I'm sort of like happy to like know about. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, okay. All right, all right.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, I love being a tourist in my own city. It just it's always for me it's like that reminder, right? And sometimes it's that thing that we just need to remember. Like, oh man, yeah, we do live in a beautiful place. We have such amazing history that's related to everything that's been here. Like, wow, that's that to see what has transpired through history to today is always, again, for me, motivation as well.
Interesting. I think one of my favorite, well, as of recent, I don't do it in the city I live in because it's small enough. It takes me
Hmm.
25, 30 minutes to walk from one end to another. Like it's not a big city.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
it's great.
beautiful.
But
Yeah.
whenever I go in another city, again, my favorite thing is not visiting museums and visiting a city. It's not really like my thing yet. But one thing I do like is I like to go on those hop on, hop off bus and just sort of like
Hmm.
put the headphones on and like listen to whatever the guide is like saying and just like look
Yeah.
around because like I find that a bit more fun. I find like a bit more engaging. Like, oh, okay, talking about that building, okay, cool, and then it goes to the next subject and to the next subject. So yeah, I find that
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, so oh yeah, back to the podcast. So another question I had for you. So I'm trying to make each episode practical. I'm trying to make each episode
Hmm.
about something, and another a question I have for you is, and I've written it down. If listeners only remembered one thing from the episode, what would it be?
I think it's just to remember, like, it's possible. That's the main message. I think that people need to understand, like, regardless of your circumstance, your education level, your finance level, any background that you think may be holding you back in life, just know that it's possible. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I just want people to know, right? Like, and financial freedom is just a choice. It's a mindset. And it's the only person that holds that key is you.
Yeah, I I think you're absolutely right. I think I look at myself, and for example, I'm 25 by the way. So I'm 25, and all of the things I'm thinking about is obviously one of them is financial freedom because for me financial freedom is not to have to worry about money, not to have to worry about right. I have to
Hmm.
like be careful how much I spend. So that's sort of like me financial freedom, and I'm in a position where, so I'm also a software developer, for example. I graduated
Oh,
university,
wow.
thank you, I
Mhm.
graduated university 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, 2 years ago. And computer science is not my favorite thing. I did because at the time, and if I could go back in time and change something, I wouldn't. Because at the time, it was a good decision. It's a good job to have, still nowadays as well. It gives you a good income and it gives you, it puts you in a position where you can listen to things around you and you can say, oh, I could do that if I wanted to, or oh, I could do that, I could build that, which is great, but it's not my favorite thing. And that's why I started a podcast, and that's why I'm trying to like do two other things on the side, so like find find something I enjoy, but find something that I'm really good at. And if I enjoy it, okay. If I don't, then that's also okay because if I'm good at
Mhm.
it, if I can double down on it, then I'll do much better at it than probably at the current job I have, which is writing code. Yeah.
So I'll kind of give you another story. Is just my partner for my software. He's 21 years old. He's a data scientist. learning again, still coding and learning in school. He's almost done his schooling, but again, it's about the application of what you're doing. And for him, it was about, for him, he's continually partnering with different people, whether it's, the different students that are in his school, right? Or even, again, like I met him at a wedding. It wasn't like we were talking about anything, right? His dad owns a business. His dad recognized me at the wedding, and he goes, "Hey, there's that Daman. We've worked with these guys." And so I just talked to his son. I'm like, "Hey, man, how you doing? How's school?" And he just told me a little bit about it, and then he's telling me how he was developing, working on an app for tutoring purposes, and he was tutoring on the side anyways. And so tutoring is something that he enjoys, teaching people. So he's just developing an app. I'm like, "Hey, man, it's pretty cool. I'd love to learn more about it." And so I just opened up a new office, and I'm like, "Hey, why don't you just drop by the office?" And I go, I've had this idea too, a while back, and it's transportation related. And I'm like, I'll definitely love to sit down and run it through you. And now with AI, there's, more possibilities of making this thing come to fruition where, previously I was running into roadblocks. And so he's like, "Oh, cool. Yeah." He goes, "I'll definitely come by." Kid comes by, right? And we have this conversation, and he's like, "Damon, I like your idea better." And so again, environment, right? Passion. So something that, we may not be enjoying today, or we may be stopped enjoying, and I'll give you another example of myself after, but putting ourselves in the right environment with the right people now can become fun, right? Again, it's an application of oh yeah, I have this skill set. If I apply it with the right people and I surround myself with fun and exciting people, hey, maybe this software development thing can really, really take off if I just apply it in the place where it can be enjoyable. Like I don't want to be an employee, maybe, right? I don't want to be stuck in just doing like my brother. My brother also does software development, and he always been doing databases, and he got stuck into it for years, right? And so he got stuck in a situation where it wasn't enjoyable anymore, right? You're repeating the same thing over and over again. You're very limited to what you can do. But again, how can you make that job fun? Entrepreneurship is one of those things where you're creating. If you're creating and growing, and it's something that can be relatable to something that you enjoy, it could possibly be pretty fun, right? So, and it's not just about the software development, but it's like, okay, how can I build a team out of this? How can I build a vision where I can see myself not developing long term, but doing it for the short term to be able to help out the next people? But then I can, manage it, and I can, grow in the marketing side. I can grow with my communication skills. I can start leading. I can become that supervisor, leader, et cetera, et cetera, and to lead the vision of the team, right? So there's all our skill sets compound in life. And so sometimes like that's just, it's just our environment, right? Sometimes our environment just isn't healthy. And so we don't like the thing that we're doing because we're just in an unhealthy environment for it. And it's not always about the money, right? Money is always a byproduct of our happiness, of our willingness to grow, and our willingness to kind of just say, hey, I'm gonna, if I'm in software development, I'm gonna be the best damn software developer out there. And like this is why people make software fun, right? They places like Google and some of these other companies where they created these fun workplaces. They brought the food in, and they brought the chefs in, they brought everybody in to make it fun, right? The pool table downstairs. And so it's like, okay, what can I create out of this? And so when you see that, you look at that as a model, and you say, yeah, it'd be fun to be with a bunch of young people that really love what they're doing, because that's probably going to energize me. And if we get creative, look at Alibaba, look at guys like Mark Cuban that developed softwares, and when the first internet came out. But then again, yeah, they were just hanging out with their friends and doing something that they enjoy doing, and billions of dollars came out of it at the end, right? So again, when you look at that, you just say, hey, that was just a byproduct, because they were all living in dorm rooms or in apartments, and it was like 3-4 people together. No one really had money, but it was all about just having fun, and the fun led to the money, right? So it wasn't, you don't go out just thinking that, hey, the money's the goal. If money's the goal, you might run into pain because you have attachment to something. Yeah. But if you go into it and say, hey, I have a passion for this, Like, let's just see what we can create. And so, like, even with us creating the software now, it's like, well, hey, man, this actually seems like a viable product. And then we have a real solution to help companies out. So again, we're in the helping business because we want to see companies succeed, and we want to give visibility to larger corporations. And so we're in the helping business. So if we're helping people, we can feel good about what we're doing and how we're selling that product, right? So again, we're excited about. And then when we look at the numbers, we made a business plan and we looked at the numbers like, wow, hey man, if we get 1,000 people on board, this is what we're going to be making, and this is who we can hire in that process. And then when we get to 5,000 people, we're going to buy an office downtown. So we're making like all these cool, it's fun to dream. It's fun to have these thoughts coming into our mind and say, hey man, what can we do? And then he's 21 years old. He's already made a 5-year plan to create his own, charity. So it's about how charitable can I be? And I'm like, wow, 21 years old. And his plan is so detailed. He has government grants in there. He's got the cost of, starting this charity, all the different streams of revenue of how to be able to, partner with companies to be able to get, more revenue into this business. So to be able to serve and to be able to give. 21 years old, and look at the mindset of this young kid. So that motivates me, right? I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, let's make this happen. I love this because dreaming is fun, right? And then when you can put your dreams and put a plan to make it into reality, it's just fun trying it. It doesn't matter if it happens or not, but imagine like the fun you're going to have of just being a kid and dreaming and saying, hey, what can we build? Right? What can we do? Again, that's just the fun of the game, right? So something I would just say, like, hey, you know what? Like, there's possibilities everywhere. Is just changing the environment, changing the mindset can change the whole outcome of our entire lives. We just don't know, right? Until we are willing to step into different situations and keep trying different things until we realize like this feels good, this doesn't feel good. If I was in a different situation, so you can create this in your mind too. So when we do personal development, we learn a lot of this in our mindsets, that we could workshop these things in our mind. Okay, what's my ideal situation, right? If I was a software developer, what type of company or what type of partnership would I want to be in? What type of opportunity would I want to have? How would I feel in that opportunity? So you can kind of start creating this. How many people would I have in my group? Would it start with one person, 2 people? Who do I need for these situations? Logistics sales started that way, right? Logistics sales was me just sitting down with a book, writing a bunch of episodes down and saying, okay, I got about 50 episodes here. Okay, I think I have something, right? So, okay, all right. Then the next question was, how do I get people to help me with this? Because it's like we're doing it for free. It's charity work, right? So we're not getting paid for this. So who can I help that likes to serve? So I asked, the people in my company that I knew that were always in service and said, hey, are you guys willing to do this with me? I asked one person, yes. Second person, yes. Third person, yes. So again, trusting the universe, right? You're getting an idea. Now act on it right away. Oh, okay. Wow. Hey, all right, we got some people. Okay. Well, how do I get the money to fund this? Right? Because I need to go buy the cameras. I need to go figure this part out. I need to build a set. Okay. How do I do that? Well, somehow I end up having a record year at work. I'm like, okay, well, hey man, the universe has been giving us the money, so hey, I don't have to worry about that now, right? So, or sometimes it's about who can I get it from, right? So I'm sure people will be able to pitch in. You can get sponsors, a bunch of different ways to do that. But again, we had an amazing year at work, not in my control, right? The market shifted, and next thing you know, there was like a windfall of money that came in, right? So didn't know, right? But again, somehow the timing was working, within everything about the thought to action plan. And again, like these things are just not planned, right? So even from there, it was just a matter, okay, now how do we build a studio? I've never built a studio. Okay, well, let me see who has. Let me see if I can contact that person, and let me just ask. And so everything was just one step to another. Okay, I got a hold of one person. Okay, all right, that worked. All right, so that guy knew about the cameras and stuff, so he helped us. So he goes, okay, yeah, I've done some Netflix movies. Sure, I can help you guys figure this out. And it was just asking people, right? So you can find people on LinkedIn. You can find people on the internet. There's always somebody willing to help. We just have to ask, right? And just say, okay, hey, can we ask? Yeah, that's anyone can do that. After that, it was about, okay, now we need to build a set. Okay, so I asked the same guy. I'm like, hey, do you know anyone that would do this? Oh, yeah, I do. Hey, so I didn't know how to do any of this stuff beforehand. And just like, again, if you're just starting out, we're just guessing, right? We're just having a thought process in our mind. But then the more people we ask, we're like, oh, hey, we have to ask for help. We have to be comfortable asking for help. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. And look how many people said yes to me along that journey, right? So that's how we started logistics sales. Everything is just a thought process, but if we're willing to act on it, then it can come to reality. Like even with you in this podcast, Luca, like, if there's other people that want to do podcasts, I'm going to say, hey, if you put this out there, if you put this recording out there, I'm going to say, all right, who wants to help Luca make a successful podcast and be the next Steve Bartlett for, Diary of a CEO? Anybody want to be a part of that? I'm sure you're going to get people that are going to say, hey man, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. I'm good at this skill. I'm good at this skill. Let's get on this, right? Luca, you're doing it. You're already taking the first steps. And so people are going to, if you put it out there, and I would encourage you to put it out there in every podcast, maybe, right? And say, hey, this is where I'm from. If anybody wants to help, and you know what, maybe we can structure it that if we get successful, that everyone can have a small piece in this. How can we make this work? I don't have to, I don't have the money to pay everybody, but if people want to volunteer their time and we all make this successful together, then we can all get paid from it, right? So it doesn't require money, but it requires time, skill, maybe a little bit of investment into an editing or Riverside, type of program, and whatever that may be, is fractional to what the outcome can be down the road.
Absolutely, and you've said so many things there that I I fully agree. I think at the beginning you said about not choosing something for the money because money is a byproduct. I fully agree. When I was growing up, I always thought I want to become rich. I want to become rich because I see all of these people on TV and they live so many amazing lives, and then I compare my life. And I've had a very nice life as well. I grew up in a very nice family. We weren't a poor family, we weren't a rich family either, but we were doing okay. So I never had thought, I never had to think about money. But obviously, seeing people on TV and obviously all the movies that were coming out, I was like, oh, this all looks so cool. And then the hardest thing, even to this day, the hardest thing is remembering that money is a byproduct. If you chase something for the money, most likely it won't happen. So, and from there, I look at jobs. I look at myself and why I want to try so many things and why I want to just do the things that I think I want to do. Because being tied to a job means that financially you're going to be tied to salary. So if I work for a nice company, if I work for Microsoft, then most likely I'll get paid a nice salary, which in turn what will mean is I'll go home, I'll Netflix and chill for the whole evening, and then on repeat for the whole week until the weekend hits, and it's just the same thing again, which is scary. It's scary to me because how are you then going to do the things that are fun, like you said, like entrepreneurship? How are you going to do those things? How are you gonna get to meet all these cool people, or how are you gonna get to like see all these doors open to you, and like how are you gonna get these opportunities? And then the thing you said at the end about just asking for help, I think one of the things that I'm not yet fully doing, I've just started like sort of doing, is asking people for a bit more help, and it's powerful. And you have to have the confidence sometimes to ask for help, or you have to have the confidence sometimes to go and do something. Matter of fact, it was just so one of the things I'm doing. For example, I'm organizing some parties. I'm organizing parties in the city, and I've been doing this for 4 months now. Almost 4 months now. And the whole idea started as I'm meeting so many nice people and so many cool people through the podcast. How can I maybe make them meet each other? Because maybe something might come off it, or they might just become nice friends. Who knows? And I started very small. I was thinking I'm just going to do a meeting with 5 people at a nice pub. We're just going to sit there for a couple of hours. We're going to have a nice conversation, go a bit more in depth rather than going to a networking event where you have like 20, 30, 40 people, because those conversations are not really serious conversations sometimes. But then I read a book, and the book I read, which I actually have it right next to me, it's a very nice book. It's called The 2-Hour Cocktail Party. This book is basically a step-by-step on how you create your own party with 15 people on how to run it, a 2 hour cocktail party,
Mm-hmm.
minus the cocktails in this case, because we live in the UK, so most likely it will be a beer at a pub. How can you create an event like this that is better than a networking event? And I was like, oh, let me actually try this on. And I've been trying it out since January, and it's been a success ever since. And I get to meet all of these people. And why am I saying this story though? Oh, yeah, because doing. Once you start doing, you don't overthink. You act, and then you see what people are reacting to, and then you act again, and then you ask yourself, well, how can I do it 1% better? Well, I don't know, but I'll try to figure it out. And then you figure it out, and then you start again. How can I do it 1% better? So it's very exciting. It's very exciting. And another question I have for you, because you have, and I've seen the episode, I've seen that, I keep going back to that one episode that I listened to, and I keep going back to sort of like what I've read about you. It seems like you've got a lot of experience in, I think overall, what I get from you is you've got obviously a lot of experience in logistics, moving a thing from point A to point B, because that's what you've been done since 1997. And since
Yeah.
then, you've also worked with entrepreneurship, because you've now got your own thing, and obviously you've created the logisticsales.com. You also are talking about sales. You're also talking about communication. You're also talking about entrepreneurship and all of that. So I guess another question I have for you is, if you could talk about any topics for 10, 15 minutes, I might have already listed them
Yeah.
for you, but could you give me like sort of like an answer to that?
So anything. So I'll just kind of go back to I like the story. I like entrepreneurship. So I love entrepreneurship, right? So one thing is like again, instead of binge watching on Netflix, I do enjoy that once in a while. But again, that's a death trap. I always say, right? If you want to get financially free, and you get sucked in by some of these things, right? For example, like I can't watch a 3 hour soccer game or football game. You know, like it's when I see that I'm like, okay, that's a lot of time, right? Investment, right? I could be doing something very productive. And I like the things that you're doing. You're reading books, you're trying different things, right? And so I'll give you a quick example of another Microsoft story, okay? And so, because you mentioned Microsoft. And so what Microsoft does is they have networking events too, right? But they partner with different companies. So what they did is they partnered with this technology company. And this technology company invited their customers. But guess who's paying the bill for it? Microsoft is. Why is Microsoft paying the bill for these people's clients? Because, and then they invited all of us to like a pub, right? To have like this meeting. They rent private rooms, they make it really nice, they bring in business owners. And what they do is they say, okay, well, the people from Microsoft walk around, and the only question they're asking people is, what problems are you experiencing in your business? Why do you think they're asking that question?
I mean,
Because
the obvious answer is, yeah, go for it.
Okay, well, because they're gonna try to build products around that. They're gonna see how many, again, before now they have now. This is why they invested into Chat GPT, because Chat GPT is now giving them the same answers that whatever questions people have, they get that in mass information now, right? So they get that information in mass, and when they find out what the problems people are having, as a technology provider, that's a gold mine for you to come up with solutions for real entrepreneurs, right? So again, when you're doing even for yourself, and the reason I kind of want to mention this story is when you're into networking and you're creating these type of events, it's also to think about, okay, who are the people that I'm bringing to these events? Who else would be interested in these people? Who would be interested in partnering with me to possibly pay and sponsor some of these events for me? So again, you're doing great things. So again, for me, it's I enjoy entrepreneurship so much that regardless of whatever category comes up, whatever conversation comes up, and so like we talked about software development, I can talk about networking and events like that as well. But regardless of anything, right? Like I just love to study that stuff. I love to see it. I love to interpret it, and I love to share it back with people. So regardless of any category, right? And this is again, we're exposed to so much in supply chain and logistics. And again, the other part is just through experiences through going to conferences, learning from other people, learning from other mentors, right? So reading in books, watching stuff on social media, all this stuff is about, how are we interpreting that information? How are we using that information? And what value are we receiving from there that we can give back? right? So again, it's just understanding, there's information all around us. Anyone can interpret it if we just start knowing, okay, what is it really? What are we being taught on a day-to-day basis, whether it's from our friends, whether it's from our family, whether it's from anything that we're watching? Are we just purely just taking it in, or are we able to cycle it out and actually, put something back out there in the world from everything that we're consuming? So yeah, so whatever topics you want to go on, I'm open, right? Similar to this conversation, whatever topic you bring up, I would love to, if you see something that's valuable, I would just say I would just roll this video. Like I would just say this is the best video because it's natural.
Yeah,
People are probably gonna relate to you. Like you want to make it relatable. This is relatable, right? Because we're just having an honest conversation.
I guess you could say
So
that.
I would just I guarantee you, if you put this out, it'll probably be one of your number one watched videos because of the practicality on it, because of the reality of it, right? And you just say, oh man, hey, well, we're being vulnerable. We're talking about in different situations. It's not scripted. It's not rehearsed, right? These guys are two people just trying to figure it out themselves, right? Like that's it. That's the stuff that people want to see, right? It makes it real if that's what the podcast is about. It's about saying, yeah, hey man, like we were just only expecting to have a conversation. But yeah, we shared a few things and we're learning, right? At the same time. So
You know what I'm curious about? I'm curious about, I think, because I said about sometimes you have to think that money is the byproduct. Because if you think like that, you can then give all your energy to whatever it is you're doing. You don't have to worry about, oh, I'm doing this because I want to get money out of it, and so how can I maximize for that?
yeah.
And I think I'm at a point where I'm like, I know that. Like I said, I know that it's sometimes hard to sort of like stay on that path. And one of the things that I'm battling with is because I do have a job, and it's an okay job. It's a nice company, very nice company, and it's nice because it works in healthcare, and you get to see that you're impacting in a positive way people's lives. That's why I'm saying that. Now, the reality for me is because I'm not really enjoying it, I'm looking to see. Well, I'm not really enjoying. I'm not as good at it as maybe the software developer you've got. I don't know his name because you haven't shared that, but the 21-year-old, right? He would probably be
Yeah.
a very good developer in the future as well, because he probably enjoys it, right? So why am I saying all of this? I'm saying all of this because I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm doing the podcast because I enjoy it. I don't think about it, or I don't think about how I can monetize it. Two reasons mainly, because I think it might be that I have to put a lot more work and effort into it to actually like think about how to monetize it, which is not why I started it. And the second reason is I just enjoy meeting people and having nice conversations with them. And then the same with the parties. The parties I'm organizing, they are at its core. I don't like the word networking, but I'll have to use it because otherwise you can't really explain them. I'm creating all of these parties because I want to introduce people to each other. If something comes off it, then that's fantastic. And I'm sort of like doing it in a creative, personal way that makes it a bit more exciting, right? And someone came up to me during one of the parties and said, look, this is, and it was the first time he came to the party. And as a side note, one of the things I don't like about networking events is people pay money to go to them, right? They pay membership fees and they go to attend these events. But what they don't realize is the same people in the room. So realistically, you're going to have the exact same conversation with the exact same people. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm rotating people. Right? I want you to meet as many new people as possible. That's why you're coming. You're not coming to have the same conversation. And someone came up to me during one of these parties, and it was his first time attending, and he was telling me, Luca, my father, he's worked in events his entire life. Here's his number because this is a great event you've put on, and I would pay money for it, and you could use that money to maybe hire a band, hire some DJ, and maybe everyone pays you, I don't know, 20 pounds, and you keep, for each person that gives you 20 pounds, you keep 5 for yourself. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. That's a way to monetize it. but that's not the point of the party. The point of the party is not to monetize it. Because that would destroy the spirit. So monetizing. And there's a point I'm trying to make here, which is, right, what's something else I could do? And I listened to a podcast the other day, and it was talking about how marketing, right? In marketing nowadays, everyone is sort of like looking at the same old strategies of marketing. Even my own company, and if they ever listen to this, it's true, unfortunately. They don't do the marketing that people want nowadays, which is digital marketing. I want to see short form content. I want to see content. I want to see podcast. I want to see the company on video. I want to see what the team who's working on the product looks like. I want to feel like I'm there. I want to feel like I've got a connection with them. And so I've got this idea that I am sort of like looking at, and I'm thinking, well, I think I want to follow this idea, which I'll tell you all about in a second, because it has the potential to be bringing some money in, which means I can increase my income, which means if something happens with my job, because obviously AI, right? You mentioned it. AI is really powerful, and it's just going to become even more powerful. And if you're not a really good developer, like me, I'm not a good developer, then at some point someone will look at me and say, we might not need Luca because we have a group of people here who are really good, so we don't need Luca and the other 5-6 people who are not as good, right? So Luca right here is gonna maybe get out of a job at some point. So how can I do something that's gonna bring some money in? Which brings the point home of money should be a byproduct of whatever it is that you're doing. And this idea that I'm gonna share with you right now is, well-known people get invited onto podcasts. Well-known people get invited onto shows. Well-known people get invited onto cable news. What do? They get publicity. What's that publicity? Well, it's not just the fact that you appear on that 1-hour show and people watch maybe live, but then they get clipped. Those shows get clipped and they get posted on Instagram, TikTok, on YouTube, and people see that. And then people are like, oh, Elon Musk has said something interesting, or Daman has said something interesting. I'm going to go check out Daman. But guess what? You're not going to check out Daman, or I'm not sorry to say that. You're not going to check out Luca because Luca, no one knows who Luca is. Luca has not been invited on a show because Luca is not well known enough to get invited to the show. So the idea is, let's target high-level executives, directors, and CEOs who are not well known but have got a lot of experience, and they care about putting themselves out there, but they don't get the opportunities. The only opportunities they might get is maybe they go to one speaking conference every now and again. But then again, is that going to be filmed? Is that going to be clipped? Not really. So how can I create some content for the future Luca out there that is running a business or is a high-level executive that has the money to pay for something like this, where I sit down with this future Luca and I say, look, Luca, you talk about whatever you're really good at. We're going to figure out how the marketing looks like, what's the best angle for you. And then once we figure that out, I'll sit down with Luca and I'll say, look, we're going to do all these questions. All you have to do is talk for 30 minutes about your favorite subject. So in your case, Daman, entrepreneurship, right? How is entrepreneurship in different industries and all of these stories. And then I'm going to record that. I'm going to clip it. I'm going to edit it. And then you have it as a way to raise your personal brand, as a way to promote yourself and bring more publicity. And that way, people will notice you. And you know what? At some point, you will get invited to the Joe Rogan show, or you're going to get invited to the Stephen Bartlett show. But this core idea is coming from a place of money. I think that this idea could have some potential to bring some money in. And I'm saying this to you because I'm like, should I follow it with this in mind? Should I sort of like think about something else?
So a couple things. So you're thinking 100% like an entrepreneur, right? Because you're 100% into the problem solving and you see possibilities. And this is the journey that a lot of people are going to go through. And so like I already will tell you that you will be successful if you keep questioning and if you keep acting, and what you're already doing. And so a lot of people want to even think about even networking, right? So even though you may not be getting paid physically right now for these networking events, but you know, there's that saying like your network is your net worth. So it may not be in dollars and pounds right now, but it could be in the future. You just don't know, right? So this is the thing. There's a lot of things in life are going to be invisible to us. And same like Elon Musk. Elon Musk was invisible until he sold PayPal. How much did you hear about Elon Musk before PayPal? Right? Because nobody sees the work that goes in the beginning. So you never know. Everything that you're doing in life, have that faith that everything's compounding. Right? So we talk about this. Having faith is just knowing that something will work out. How many times did Tesla almost go bankrupt? Even with the rockets that Elon Musk is launching, yeah, I mean it's not all going to be successful. Even that was almost at the verge of collapse. But you know who was willing to keep going? Elon Musk, right?
Elon Musk.
That's why it's a person. So relate it back to all of us, right? It's a person that has the courage to keep going forward when everything looks like it's a disaster. When everything looks like there's no way out, the person that has the courage to keep going is the person that we learn about later in life. So it's not about Luca today. It's about who's Luca going to become tomorrow. Who's he going to become a year from now, 5 years from now? And all the stuff that you're doing is not going to waste. I'll tell you that, right? So it's not. It's just that you haven't been in the journey long enough to be able to see what's going to come out from it. And there's, again, you're doing all the right steps. So if I was to invest in the future Luca, I would be like, yeah, man, I'm going to invest in this guy because he's willing to keep trying. He's willing to keep figuring it out. Again, when Jeff Bezos started in his garage trying to do Amazon, nobody saw him. Right? We didn't hear about him for years and years until, again, he was able to keep pushing through. Right? Same thing with Steve Jobs, the guy that made Apple, right? How did he get successful? Well, he had an interest in computers. And one day he would decide to reach out to HP for some of their garbage or something, whatever that story was. But we never hear about these stories till years and years later. And so the thing is we have to get out of this mindset of saying, hey, we need to be doing something amazing today. But it's about, hey, what can we start? What can we make it into? And how can we just make it something even better, right? So that's the thing that you keep thinking about. And this is a true trait of an entrepreneur, is how do I keep making things better? And when you're doing it in service, like you are, like connecting these people, imagine just having one good idea out of that whole networking. So no matter how long you're doing this for, whether it's a year, whether it's 2 years of networking people, now look at, if you connect the right person, who do you think they're going to remember when they build that next business? Who was that person that connected us? Oh yeah, hey, maybe we should reach out to him because he was pretty motivated. And if I want somebody on my team, I want people on my team that are willing to, take the steps that no one else is willing to take. This is why entrepreneurs are the ones that are able to set themselves apart from everybody else. Everybody else is working the 9 to 5. Entrepreneurs are the ones that are going to be thinking about entrepreneurship well beyond that 8-hour clock and are willing to start acting on it. True entrepreneurs are willing to act on it, at all hours, right? So again, what is it, 9 o'clock at night right now?
Yeah.
On a weekend? On a weekend, what are you doing, right? I'm sitting here with you on a weekend, right? I could be out and about having a good time, but the sun is shining outside, right? And so what are we doing because of what we love to do, because of what we enjoy to do, right? So again, yeah, I mean, so not to worry about any of these things as long as you keep trying something, right? And one is, again, listening to the feedback. Okay, someone says, okay, you could charge for this. Do I want to? Does it feel right with me? If it doesn't, then listen to the intuition, because the intuition is ultimately going to find you what is right for you, which you're going to actually enjoy doing. Like £5 to me doesn't get me excited, right? Per person, unless I could put on like multi-thousand people events, then I'm excited, right? But then it's like, okay, well, who's going to share that vision with me? Maybe I could find someone to share that vision with me, and maybe if I do it on a small scale long enough, then I'm ready for the big one. All right, so going back to Luca, if he wasn't doing all the work that he was doing in that transportation company, there's no way that he would be successful today, right? Or even with the first example I gave you about the person that was offered, all that business, and it's worth over $250,000 in one shot, you know, how is he getting that opportunity? Like, so the next day when he got that opportunity, we went back and said, okay, can we do this? So he's already leveraging his network of everything, every job that he had before, right? He's like, okay, hey, you know, I know these people, I know these people, I know these people, right? But again, it's preparation that meets the opportunity. Because he knows those people, he's like, yes, we do have enough people to be able to service this account. And I have the right network that I've been building this network. We don't realize it at the time. And again, his mindset was like only this big in the beginning. But now he's like, whoa, he goes, hold on. He goes, my mindset was just wrong. Right. And even while we're sitting here, he's messaging me on the weekend too. Right. That's, you know, there's an attachment here. I got to open it. Right. But imagine like the mind is going. Right. And so they start seeing possibilities, but it's all the preparation that they were doing. So I'll tell you over and over again, even in my career, it's everything compounded from the jobs that I was doing and the mistakes that I saw people make and the good things I saw people do, right? Everything was stuff that was collected by me. Again, that preparation meets opportunity at some point in our life. So the opportunity is going to come because we're active. So like I know 100%, Luca, I'll be like, hey man, you're going to get opportunities. You're going to find different income streams. You're going to think of different income streams. Just keep willing to act on it. You'll get there. And that's just part of the entrepreneurship journey is you learn what you don't like to find out what you do like. And then you're going to do that with passion. And you're already doing that. So you're already a great example for everybody to say, hey, this is what entrepreneurship really looks like. Entrepreneurship is not having all the answers right away, but figuring it out along the way is what we do.
That sounds really refreshing, to be honest with you, because sometimes, like, my dream growing up, and not since I was a kid, but maybe more since, I guess, joining high school, and maybe towards the back end of high school. So maybe when I was 17, 16, 17, maybe that time, I started thinking I would like to be an entrepreneur. And to me, since then, maybe up until this moment, I've been thinking that an entrepreneur is someone who has built a company, who is making, well, who has a positive cash flow. So there's sales going, and someone who might even have people work with them, right? But I think what you just described is I'm actually an entrepreneur right now because I'm willing to take all of these steps. And now that I'm sort of like doing 100%. All of these things, it feels
100%.
It feels unnatural not to do them. It feels like, what do you mean you're not going to follow up? What do you mean you're not going to pick up the phone? What do you mean you're not going to maybe work on a Saturday at 9 p.m.? What do you mean you're not going to do things? And to be honest with you, sometimes I'm like, I do have those moments when, just like you probably, I would like to sit down and maybe like watch some Netflix, right? Because like it's a nice break. But also is this
and
time...
you can.
Yeah. There's absolutely still can. But yeah, it's very refreshing to hear that perspective. Because actually, I think I am an entrepreneur in that regard. You don't have to have a company.
And look, I mean, you know, I'm smiling because I definitely see that entrepreneurship spirit in you. I have a friend that's from Romania as well. He went from Romania, he lived in Israel for a while, and then he came and moved to Canada. And, you know, he has so many ideas in his head about entrepreneurship and, you know, podcasts and everything else, but he's too scared to do it. He will never come on camera. He will never want to speak in front of somebody because he's so scared about how he's going to sound. And he's just already defeated in his mind. He's like, no one's going to listen to me. But Daman, you're doing great. You know, you guys keep going. You guys, but you know, they'll encourage everybody else. But this is, again, so many people in life, they'll encourage everybody else, but they have such a fear to do it. So when I see like you're fearless, right? And this is what I teach in sales is just take off the programming because it's possible for anyone. But, you know, I've seen people from across the world do business in North America. It doesn't matter what education level they had, didn't matter what finance level they had, didn't matter how they even spoke. And I saw them have, you know, meetings with multi-billion-dollar companies in North America, and you know, those people took them extremely seriously. So it's this thought process, even with my friend, you know, coincidentally you guys are from the same country, so I gotta remember, you know, that part of it. And so yes, same thing, right? Like again, he's got this fear that prevents him from moving in that direction. But who knows, like what he's preventing himself from achieving? And I truly believe that the person that's willing to act, that voice is coming from somewhere. And I'm always gonna go back to that voice, and just say, trust it. Trust that voice. Be willing to act on it. Believe that it's leading you to something beautiful. We could always see it on the way back. And I'm sure there's, for even for you to be able to come from Romania to England, you saw what that journey was like. Maybe for a lot of people that's not possible. There's probably a lot of people in your home country that say, hey, you know what? I wish I could be in that same situation Luca did. He won already, right? So they're already thinking that, like, this guy won. He made it there. He's in a place of opportunity right now. He's going to bring home the riches. He's making the big dollars right now, right? So they're already thinking that. You come back home and you're like a superstar, right? So it's one of those situations like, wow, man, this guy just came back from the UK. Wonder what he's what he's gonna bring us. And there's a certain fame that goes with that. And so you've already won, but it's hard to imagine that as a kid growing up, right? To be like, oh, hey, you think of it like, hey, it's possible. But again, now when you're here and you look back and you say, hey, what was that journey like? It started with an idea. It started with something inside here that led me to come here and be in the UK or be in England. And so that's the same thing that, again, we can look at it and go backwards and say, yeah, hey, that started off as an idea and we achieved it. And we didn't know how it was going to happen, but it happened. We knew somewhat, but there's a couple things that probably didn't go the way that we thought were going to go, but we ended up there. And so that's the same thing that I keep saying. Trust that. You've already been through that journey, and it's definitely got you somewhere better than you were before. Sure, we have to face the struggles of it. It's not going to be easy. But again, when we go there, we know that, hey, it was possible. And we did it. And we achieved that. And so what else is in here? So don't stop listening to this thing. Don't stop listening to what's happening inside here, because it's all leading you into something beautiful, right? So that's the thing that, again, is the main message that I keep wanting to get out there for people, is to say, hey, yeah, you listen to this thing inside of you, not to other people, right? But listen to what's inside of you and what the truth is, right? So again, when someone says, hey, you can make 5 pounds for every 20 pounds, believe what your truth is. Your truth is going to be, okay, does this feel right? Is this something that I want to do? Is this something that's going to make me happy? Is this something that needs to be a part of my process? If it is, it may not be right now, it may be later on, but question it before you listen to anybody, right? And I always say, listen to people that have been through that road and journey before. Those are the people you want to listen to, because those are the people that are going to actually help guide you and say, okay, hey, get rid of the noise, get rid of the clutter so you can get focused. And that's exactly what I see you doing as you're talking to me, is you're getting focused. And you need people in your life that you can speak to, right? Like, you're sharing things openly with me, and even with myself, I do the same thing. I'll talk to people, because I really want to listen to, okay, what am I saying? First of all, sometimes our thoughts are not even clear, right? So I'll be like, okay, and what am I saying? Is it actually making sense? And you just need someone to rebound off of, right? Because you need that space. You need that clarity from talking to somebody. And sometimes we get a different perspective on it, or we get confirmation of what we're already saying. And a lot of times we know what those steps are, but we just need confirmation to be able to, that encouragement, right? That little bit of nurturing to be able to move forward. And so, like I said, you're on the right track when it comes to that. And that's exactly like, like I said, like this episode is perfect for like what the brain of an entrepreneur goes through, because that's it. That's the formula. You are running the formula of saying, okay, hey, yeah, I'm willing to try, different things. You're trying a podcast, you're doing the networking, and you're working a job. So you're showing people like, hey, all these things are possible, right? Like, you're the example. And so how many people will want to follow that example to see, like, where does Luca end up?
That's a great question, I think.
Right?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, this is gonna be the podcast. I'm not even gonna it's been a very fascinating conversation so far, and I think
I hope so.
I know so. I think with you, what I respect about you is that you're providing that. You're providing that to people around you. I think looking into logisticsales.com, you're doing that for free. and you
Yeah.
you started from nothing, just with an idea, and then you got help, and then you've now, correct me if I'm wrong, but last time I checked, which was 1 hour ago when I was listening to that one episode, you recorded 70 episodes and probably even more, and only released around 20. And those 20 episodes, short from like, so like episodes, like 20 minutes, I think I heard, are helping
Yeah.
people with the fundamentals of entrepreneurship, communication, sales, and stuff like that, which is great, because you then, and again, this is what I respect about you. You show up for them, right? The hardest thing at the beginning of I guess someone's life, they say, you say it as well, and all the business books say it, and all the people out there say it. The people you surround yourself with, your network is your net worth, right? But you have to find that network. You have to create that network. You have to surround yourself with those people, and you're helping do that. And you're showing up for people, and you're mentoring them, and you're teaching them, and you're speaking with them on how your journey has been so far. And it's absolutely fascinating, because then they relate to you, and then they learn from you. And I think just this conversation with you right here, Damon, I think it's sort of helped me understand a couple of things that maybe I was not fully seeing. So what you just said a couple of seconds ago about someone, sometimes you need someone there to just confirm stuff for you. I think that's what you've just
Yeah.
done for me here, and you've done this times and times again for adult people, especially with the logistic side of things. And that's why I love. That's why I love. And I you're in Canada, and I'm in the United Kingdom, right? And I just wish I could be around people like you more, because that's how you do it. That's how you get on the lowest days. That's how you sort of like get the energy to do things. That's how you say, I'm not gonna sit here and watch Netflix. I'm not gonna sit here on a Saturday and sort of cry my eyes out because something didn't happen. I'm gonna go out there and make it happen.
Yeah. And the other part is just trusting, trusting the universe. So, funny thing is, like, before we hit the record button here, you saw some of my background, right? And you saw, okay, oh, Damon accidentally put me into this WhatsApp group. and but then look at the stories that came out of that. Another person named Luca, that's on his journey, right? So I probably wouldn't have shared those stories with you if it wasn't for me making that mistake. So you say, okay, well, was it a mistake, or was the universe trying to get me to hear something to help me along my journey? And so, you just wonder, like, okay, do we really make mistakes? What does that look like in reality? Right. So again, a lot of times it's like, well, hey, would I have been able to hear those stories that Damon told me, right? Because I probably wouldn't have shared them, because I'm like, okay, that's totally different business, so I don't want to, bring that maybe here. But because you happen to be in that group, then I'm like, I might as well share it with you, right? So hey, I'll tell you what the background of that was, and you get to see another version of me that, again, a lot of people in the podcast I'm doing probably never got a chance to see. So you see different versions of people that come out when, again, yeah, we talk about things, and yeah, through our mistakes even, or whatever it may be, we get to see, different versions of people, and we say, oh, well, hey, yeah, we all make mistakes. Yeah, I've added somebody maybe to a WhatsApp group that maybe didn't need to be there, or who knows? Like, these guys are just so focused on, business, business, business. And yeah, so I did that, a couple hours before we got on the podcast. And so, like, I'm in work mode, right? So that's it. So we have to transition from work mode into saying, okay, hey, all right, different business, let's get in this mode. So you see, like, that transition, same thing you're going through is, okay, yeah, you have a work mode that you're doing, 8 hours in at least, right? And then there's other modes that you can get into, and you show people, like, hey, that's possible, because yeah, we're willing to put ourselves through that. We're willing to, again, put ourselves in a situation where we enjoy it, right? Like, that's our version of maybe playing sports. Maybe that's our version of saying, okay, hey, that's our connection time with friends and family. That, hey, this is just a part of who we want to become, because we enjoy it and we have fun with it, and we love to dream, and we love to think about the possibilities that can be created out of, what we do and all our action steps that we take today. So again, it's, for us, it's like that unknown future that we're like, hey, we're willing to experiment and see what's on the other side of this door, when a lot of people like the security of having that door closed. We don't want to see what's past that door. We don't want to see what else is out there for us, right? So, and sometimes we're just scared of it. And so again, when people see that version of yourself and maybe a little bit of me, that's the encouragement that people just need to say, hey, yeah, what's the harm in trying this? It's not gonna, again, it doesn't, not everything has to break the bank. Not everything requires a large investment, but again, it just requires courage. And it requires a little bit of vulnerability sometimes, right? Again, asking for help. We have to be vulnerable in that situation and say, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Can somebody help? Or we just have to trust that there's always somebody with us to walk that path. And we're never alone in that situation. I think that's part of the video that I sent you too, is that when people realize that you're never truly alone, and who knows, maybe you want to put that link to of that video below. And again, the possibility of saying, when we explore some of these opportunities, yeah, the exponential, and I'm a little bit fast forward, in life, from where you are, Luca, right now. But when we see, what exponential growth looks like in the future, then again, it's not something that I dreamed of growing up. And I'm sure, at the beginning stages of it, it's hard to see as well because you just see the struggle of it. But then, again, when you are around enough people that just say, hey, yeah, trust me, you'll get there. Trust me, you're doing the right steps. And you talk to the people that have done it, right? Again, I'll give you another funny story. So even before we went to that customer that I told you about, that was offering us, the work and the contracts. So even prior to that, again, my mom was calling me on the phone, and so again, this is again environments, right? So give people a realistic example of this, right? But it's embarrassing as well, right? But my mom calls me and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Mom, I'm going door to door to go do some sales," and I'm like, "Is this something really important? Because I'm working right now." And she's like, "Why are you going door to door?" She's like, "You shouldn't be doing that. So you should be sitting in the office," right? Like there's other people that can be doing that. And I'm like, "No, mom, not gonna, this is really part of what I do." I go, I'm active, and yeah. So I mean, my mom's only worked in a hospital or worked in factory work. She doesn't know what that entrepreneurship life looks like. And a lot of people, when we're on that journey, don't understand what the entrepreneurship life looks like. And so she's telling me to again pull back. Don't be doing that. Don't be doing that, because she's having all these fear programs that are going off in her mind. And so, later when I got back home or when I got back to my office, I called her. I'm like, "Mom, you kept calling me. What was going on?" And then she's like, "Well, were you going door to door to homes, or were you going door to door to businesses?" Right? So she's like, "Don't go door to door at homes because, blah, blah, blah." Because she has images of what she wants her son to do. Right? And so she's worried about, what are people going to think if my son's going door to door? They're probably going to think, this, and this, and he's probably not making it, but I'm like, no, well, I know what's on the other side of that. And, again, talking about that, going to that business, that was over a $4 million deal. That was potentially going to be at that one business. And if I listen to, these voices, there's no way that we would be able to go forward in entrepreneurship. There's no way that we'd be able to move forward, because there's always going to be someone that says, hey, you probably got something better to do on the weekend. Like, why are you working? Why are you doing that? You're gonna ask that question so many times. Oh, you've been doing it for a year. Oh, and you're still not profitable. Hold on. So, like any business that I built, 3 to 5 years to get successful. It's not instant, right? There's ways to make it instant that we've learned, but again, it's based on our experiences, is based on our skill sets, is based on if we're willing to handle those opportunities when they come. Right? So we're building discipline as we go through jobs, as we go through education, as we go through school. All the different experiences that we're doing in life are building us as an individual. And if we truly trust that path, right? Again, everyone here is made in the eye of God, right? So I just say, again, everyone's made perfectly already. And if we understand that we all have a purpose to serve, listening to this intuition is going to help us get there, and acting on it is going to allow us to experience it. And so if we're willing to walk that path, which many people are not willing to walk, share story after story of so many people that aren't. But then, we just look at that and say, is that where I want to end up? Or do I want to walk this path of entrepreneurship where I've seen, other mentors do it, and I like it up there. You know, it's kind of funner when I could get the Lamborghini when I want to, or when I could, you know, purchase that penthouse whenever I choose to. And you know, not even for myself, but I could do it for my family. I could do it for my friends. I could fly everyone into, you know, the UK to come visit me for Christmas or the special holidays, right? Like, I can do this because I'm choosing this journey. It's not only for me, but I'm choosing it because ultimately, like, it's going to be able to provide for so many people, right? So again, entrepreneurship is just not about ourselves. If it is about ourselves, that's a downward direction sometimes, right? You have a quick up and you have a quick down, and so I've seen that in business too. And so that's why we don't teach it to just be thinking about yourself. It's like, no, have a larger purpose, right? And when you talk about sharing experiences to make things relatable to other people, like, that's a vision. That's a vision that people will get behind, because it's not just, you know, what can Luca do for himself, but it's about, hey, you know what can we give back to the community, right? So when we stay focused on, again, networking, we stay focused on serving people, then just watch, Luca. There's going to be opportunities, and people are going to look to you to say, hey, you know what? I need someone that's honest, because again, so many times in business, you can't find honest partners. You find people that are just about themselves, and that's it's a way to the bottom. But when you find people that are givers, when you find people that are honest, you find people that are solution oriented and don't complain about having to do the work, who do you think is going to get the opportunities in life?
Is those people who don't complain and do the work, and that's not attractive. It's not attractive to complain. It's not attractive to just not put in the work, right? And it all starts from doing things from. I think this is what you promote through your platform and through other things that you've said so far. Doing things from a place of service, right? Mm-hmm. Being honest, being ethical, because in the end, what you do to others will come back to you, right? There's a balance, and I fully agree with that. And I think because you mentioned the voices, right? Listening to voice because your mom called. There's a similar thing that happened to me, and I listened to the voice. Unfortunately, for a while, and I was like, oh my god! Like, when I came out of it, I was like, unbelievable. So the story is a very short story. This one, about a year ago, when I started the podcast, I saw someone that worked in the city I live in, right? And it was just a bit funny. I was like, she works for a company, Honeywell or something. It's a sex. Well, sex. Yeah, it's a sexual
so Honeywell
company.
over here,
Oh,
it's a seafood company.
not seafood.
Wait, so what type of company?
Is it
So
honey?
Honeywell does like the heaters, and they do electronic manufacturing. That's the
Oh,
Honeywell that we have in North America.
it's not that Honeywell. It's a different Honeywell. It's not called Honeywell, but it's got the word honey in it, which makes me think
Okay.
Honeywell. Anyway, it's a company that basically I think produces. I might be completely wrong with this one. It either produces. How can I use a nice word for it? How can I use it? Well, it's producing sexual products,
Oh,
right?
okay. That's
And
different.
yeah, it's totally different, right? And I was doing some research on LinkedIn. I was like, who in the city of Bath could have an interesting job they could talk about? Because that's how the podcast started. The podcast
Mm-hmm.
didn't start by looking at what people are really good at. The podcast started because it's called Path in Life, right? It started at looking at someone's journey in life and answering the question of, tell me how you've got to do the thing that you're doing now. And since then I've pivoted. But at the beginning I found this lady on LinkedIn, and she was working as a marketing digital producer, something like that, in that company. I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be cool to get someone who works in that sort of like area and so in that sort of like industry and get them on the podcast and like just tell me how have you got to do this job, because I just actually want to know. And anyways, I reached out to this woman on LinkedIn, and I remember sending like maybe every week I would like send a follow up, right? And I think I did that for like 5 weeks. And I went to London one day, and one of my friends, well, I went to a group of friends, right? And I stayed over, and they were asking about the podcast. And I was like, oh yeah, this is how the podcast is going. And hey, by the way, there's this someone I'm trying to get on the podcast. And they laughed, because obviously it's a funny story.
Yeah.
And one of them was like, "That's a bit creepy what you're doing, following up when they don't reply." I'm like, "No, but that's how you like. It's not a no yet. It's just we'll see what happens." And she might reply. She might not want it now, but she might want it in
Mm-hmm.
like a week's time. And anyways, that sort of like put me off a bit. And I sort of like ended up listening to like that certain person, and I didn't follow up. I stopped following up. I was like, yeah, maybe I guess she doesn't want to do it. So why would I follow up with it? Anyways, and then I sort of like forgot about it, and sort of like a year later, a couple of months ago, I was in a very similar position where I reached out to a local business person here in Bath who graduated from the same university as me and built a consultancy company in software. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I get that guy? And I sent him a message on LinkedIn. Nothing happened for a long, long time, for a year. And then, because I messaged him like actually a while ago. And then I was like, you know what? I need to follow up, because then if you don't follow up, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I followed up, nothing happened. I followed up again through a different channel, and the guy replied. I was like, oh my god, now I've got another guest who might be interested in coming onto the podcast. And since that moment, I've been following up, and that moment was like a couple months ago. I've been following up every week with everyone who I want to come on the podcast. I'll follow up
100%.
until the end, and it's just
So
crazy.
can I just say something about this? Like, so this is sales, right? A lot of people don't think like this is sales, but this is 100% sales. This is the same skill that's going to land you multi-million-dollar contracts in your future. Is once you understand, like most people will give up after one or two contacts, but the person that's willing to keep going, this is the formula. Like formula, even in podcasting, even in anything that you're doing, when you're willing to keep following up, then the riches are going to come. So whatever it is, if long as you're not willing to give up, let this be a lesson to everybody. Like this is the formula for success in anything, right? So again, if you're looking at how many people, if you're having the ability to get people onto the podcast, that is sales, right? Like that's 100% sales. You may not look at it as like, oh, I'm running a business or this is entrepreneurship, but that's 100% entrepreneurship. Again, it's just that ability, right? So again, you're unlocking different levels in yourself by learning that. So it's a skill set that not many people have. And not many people are willing to go through because they just don't like being rejected. They don't like the feeling of, oh, hey, maybe I'm not important enough. So there's different programming that will go into people to prevent them from continuing to follow up. And the person that knows that, hey, you know what? Maybe that guy's just busy. Or maybe, they're not ready for a podcast today, but they might be a year from now. We don't know, right? But at least we're doing something nice by just saying, hey, we're just putting it out there. Maybe it's something that can benefit them too, right? So like same thing, like this is hopefully going to benefit Daman too, right? As well. It's not just, Damon's on here and he's, I had to bring him on or whatever it is, or he reached out. But it's more saying, hey, you know what? Let's just put this out there, right? Because like, even on our side, it's just, I just want that one listener to say, hey, we like what logistics sales is doing and maybe we want to teach this. So our goal is to have facilitators teach what we're teaching and allowing us to help those facilitators to be able to spread this to people across the globe, right? That's essentially what we want people to learn. And these are the skills, right? So this is, again, another live skill of the art of follow-up. And just understanding that if we are able to ask, then we're able to achieve the results that we want to achieve. Is that hard? Do you think that's impossible for anyone to do?
That's one of the easiest things to
Yeah.
do. That's the problem. And because it might seem so easy, sometimes I see it in people around me. Sometimes people are scared to be on camera, right? Sometimes people are scared to have a face-to-face interaction, which blows my mind. What do you mean you're scared of like having a one-to-one interaction with who? A human being? You can't have a conversation. You're like 20. You're in your 20s. You're in your 30s. You're not a 5-year-old anymore. What do you mean you're scared of having a conversation? And it all comes back to confidence. And it all comes back to mindset, right? You need to put yourself out there. You need to change the formula that you've kept saying to yourself in your head, erasing that, and starting from, right, I can do this. I can follow up. I can put myself in those positions. And once you do, You'll see that
Mm-hmm.
you won't see it immediately. I didn't see it immediately, but at some point things will start to happen, and that's when you realize, okay, these are some hints from the world that I'm doing something good. I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Yep. And then the rest is just putting yourself in the right environment. As soon as you put like the same skill sets that you have, Luca, you put that into the right environment and you watch how you're going to flower, right? Because if you have the ability to, again, you're able to get people to act on something, you could apply this to any business as well. So any business that you enjoy being a part of and you want that business to grow, then you say, hey, I got a bunch of skills, right? I know how to get people in and I know how to do some of this marketing to get the message out there and I know how to put people together. These are some skill sets that I've developed. Again, the only piece that you're going to figure out, and you will figure this out in your journey, and I guarantee you will, is that you're going to learn how to monetize it. It'll happen. So it's there's no chance that it's not going to happen. The only way it's not going to happen is if you don't try, right? So if you keep going on this path, then the right solution is going to come to you at some point. That part I'll guarantee. There's no way that's not, because you're exposing yourself to so many opportunities and so many different networks and so many different people. Like same way that I met my that 21-year-old software developer and I said, hey, let's open up a company. And I told him, I go, hey, I'll do the 100% investment in it. I just need you. So most entrepreneurs aren't even looking for financial investments. The investment is the human capital, the person that has the knowledge and the person that's willing to do and act. No business can survive without employees. And so in order to have a business, you're going to have some good employees, right? So you say, okay, well, your effort is going to be your investment. And so again, 21-year-old kid, he's the CEO of the company. It's not me. I'm like, you're the data scientist. You're the software guy. Like you're going to be the owner of this company. I go, I'm just going to help mentor you and again, take you through some of the steps, but this is your company. So it's possible, right? Like again, zero investment. It was just, he was willing to have the conversation. He was willing to network. He was willing to put himself out there and tell me what he was doing. Did he think that it was going to turn into a company? We were there at a wedding. we, we, we were there for a totally separate purpose. But the universe has ways to put things in front of you that you never know. But it's if you wouldn't have developed that app, if you wouldn't be doing the schooling for it, if he wasn't tutoring people on his spare time while he was doing schooling, none of it would have happened,
And it's crazy. It's
right?
crazy.
Because yeah, because I wouldn't have seen that in him. So you don't know, right? Right. So people are being paired together all the time, and just even to like talk about that story. So he was going to school in a different part of the country, couple provinces away, right? So we're in British Columbia. He was in Ontario doing his schooling. He had just come back for summer holidays, and all his friends had gotten internships at different companies. And so he was disappointed because he's like, "Hey man, no one gave me an internship." And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, I'm kind of upset about that too." He didn't tell me till later, right? So he's like, "I was kind of upset." He's like, "I'm kind of upset about not getting it." But then I'm like, "Well, look at it now, man. You were just meant to be a CEO." Like so again, you think something negative happened, but again, you're not giving up. And so it's that ability to pick yourself up every single time and just say, hey, I'm just willing to kind of go with it. And he came on with a smile on his face, willing to just do whatever it took to get the job done. And, within, like, again, minutes of meeting him and having that conversation at my office afterwards, we started that company almost immediately. We created, I think I created a 20-page document in the beginning. He took that same 20-page document, made it into a 200-page document. And then we, again, looked at it and said, okay, which development teams can we get onto this? So we outsourced some of our development outside. And yeah, the company was started within a month. Like we were already developing. from idea to development. It was just because he wasn't willing to hesitate, and then his energy got my energy going, and we would just be doing this nonstop. So every day our development team was overseas, so we'd have meetings in the daytime, they'd be developing at nighttime, and then we were doing this back and forth every day, right? So we are being part of that development process because we had the vision, we had the operational know-how, and we were able to put it all together. But again, I knew the operation part of it, he knew the technical side of it, and so both of our skills together became very powerful to be able to say, okay, hey, you know what? If we're going to build the right product, yeah, let's get the right people in here and let's, re-strategize this. And even though we had that 200-page document, we were reiterating it every single time because we were visualizing, okay, what does this process look like? Okay, if this person acts on this step, what does that do to the entire process? And so we were creating our different dashboards, we were creating our different stack systems, and then we were problem shooting it along the way and trying to make it better every single time. So same thing when I see you going through that loop about making things better and trying to figure it out. Yeah, we're gonna end up having a better product. You're gonna end up having a better product. You're gonna end up having a better service. And guess who's gonna ultimately benefit from that is the people around you. And when the people around you are benefiting from what you're doing because you're always looking at how to make it better, then yeah, it's gonna come back at some point. So that's the entrepreneurship mindset. You already have the mindset, and you're willing to put yourself out there. And when you are willing to do that, there's again any entrepreneur that's listening, put your comments below and let this man know that yeah, this is the pathway. This is what we all go through. No, it's just willing to try different things, and continuing to figure it out. Like there's that feedback loop. What are we listening to? What can we keep doing? And if we're moving in that momentum, it's going to take you somewhere.
I think, yeah, even though that's the most difficult thing, that when you're in the moment, you have to figure it out. And you have to ask yourself and then answer the question of how can I get better? What do I need to change? That's the most difficult part. But once you get going, once you start doing and sort of like, you need to think, but don't overthink. Because if you overthink, you then stop doing. And I think that's why I find excited with your story, because that kid just took the opportunity, ran along with it, and look at him now, right? It's crazy how something started from nothing. He had a history there. He wasn't just right. I'm really good at software, so I'm gonna talk with Daman about this. No, he had to have had a journey behind him to like put him there, and then he acted. It's incredible. I find that completely. I just find it fascinating and good for him and good for you. Obviously, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing that I expected. I didn't expect to be into software development. This is my second time at it. I picked the wrong partner the first time and I lost a lot of money. And so, but it's one of those things. I'm like, if I'm willing to take a shot at this, like I again, it's those dreams, it's those aspirations. The fun of doing it is why, right? So if that fun part wasn't there, I wouldn't be doing it, because it's not for the money, but it's for the possibility of just the excitement of watching things grow, and having fun doing it, right? So that's essentially, again, I've been through those situations. In the beginning of my entrepreneurship career, I was a micromanager. I was always, had to be hands-on and micromanaging everything. And so that created success, but it wasn't enjoyable as much as, like it is nowadays, because I just realized, why was I putting that extra stress on myself, right? But some of those things were necessary to see, the results. But then you realize, okay, they say that, the pain that we go through is there, but the stress of it is optional, right? Like it doesn't need to be there, right? It's control the controllables, as long as you understand that. And there's things that you can just let go of and start trusting, and just knowing, okay, hey, you know what? As long as if I can stay in leadership, I can make decisions, and I can make sure that I can steer the ship the right way. But again, it was all those learning experiences that we go through that develop us and get us to learn and say, okay, how can I do it better next time, right? How can I pick up the good qualities of even what I was doing, and put that back into business and let go of some of these other things. And again, trusting, right? Trusting that the future is going to work out. So even with logistics sales, when it took us almost 2 years to film the first 30 episodes. And for me, as a micromanager, as a perfectionist, inside I was having to deal with all this programming because I'm so used to, boom, 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 everything has to happen quick. Everything has to happen. I'm like, nope, not this time, Damon. I'm just gonna relax. Just gonna see what happens, and I'm not gonna be that same person, right? Because yeah, it's not about the outcome. It's about the journey of how to get there. And I just kept reminding myself, and maybe that was a test for me, to test my patience, to say, hey, can you be patient? And even again, having an investment into something, you want to see those results right away. But then I was like, I'm gonna trust. I'm gonna have faith this time around. And yeah, I don't want to get into micromanagement. I don't want to sit there and tell people to do, tell them what to do. It's a volunteer job in the beginning anyways. There's side courses that we created out of it, but in the beginning it was just like, okay, well, you know what, let's remember what the purpose of this is. And then so I just said, let's just relax. The team, when they want to come around and when they want to step into some of these positions of leadership, they will. And that's exactly what happened. The last 4 months we did the 80 episodes, and which it took almost 2 years to film the first 30. So how is that possible, right? So and then we're all working again full-time jobs, and outside of it. And so just realizing that, okay, well, hey, there's ways that people can operate that they will figure out for themselves if they put themselves in that situation. And for me, trusting that we will complete the project. And for me, it was very important to complete the 110 episodes that we have for logistics sales in our curriculum. And, because I just really wanted to put it out there. And so, but it happened, right? The first 2 years, yeah, it looked like, I don't know how we're going to get there, when we're going to get there. But then, something amazing happened the last 4 months where we were able to put everything together, and somehow, everyone just stepped up. And we lost one member along the way, but the team that we had was able to step up and put everything together. So just thankful for that. And I'm so happy when I look back at it now. Again, couldn't see it going forward, but when I look back at it, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm glad the micromanager Daman didn't come out. That guy that was always quick to do things. He was able to relax along this journey to enjoy it. Right? So it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen, but it happened. So then again, we realized like not everything's going to happen the way that we want it to happen, but if I learn how to let go and trust and have faith, that the outcome, is there. And that's the biggest accomplishment for me, to say, hey, you know what, we put together this program that's going to be out there now to be able to serve the world, and even well beyond whether I'm here or not. But it's something that I could really look back in my life and just really feel proud about it, and to say it happened. And I'm so glad that it happened the way that it did too, and with the people that it happened with. That there's a big thanks there for the team, and just saying, and it puts our mind back in faith, and say, hey, you know what, yeah, as much as the programs inside me were playing, I kept faith, and that faith led to me enjoying the moments and being present in those moments, and not having to stress, right? That's the thing, is like, we don't want to stress through it. We still got to do the hard work, but again, that stress part is optional, and we don't have to take it on, and just enjoy those moments instead, and just say, hey, you know what, if it doesn't work the way that I want it to work, let me trust that someone's with me. And if I always say, if God put something in our heart, it's meant to happen, but it doesn't have to happen the way that we want it to, because the way that He's going to do it is probably a lot better. And so trusting that for so many aspects of my life, again, never wanted to be into entrepreneurship, never wanted to be public speaking, but then just trusting that this voice that was leading me somewhere is leading me in a great direction. And that's true. Entrepreneurship wasn't easy in the beginning. Went through a lot of struggles. A lot of times I wanted to go back to being an employee. And one of the pieces of advice someone told me was, Damon, hang in there in the beginning, when I first started. And somebody that was an entrepreneur just said, hey, hang in there, it's going to be worth it. And then, yeah, again, going back to that video I sent you, yeah, lots of years where, I made 10 years of income in 1 year. And there's years I made, 20, 30 years of income in 1 year. And so, again, but if I would have fallen apart in the beginning where I wanted to go back to being an employee, then I would have never been able to see that. And so, there's a lot of fears, that kick in, and we have to really work on those internal programs inside, right? To say, okay, what's real? And, fear, sometimes they talk about false evidence appearing real. we really have to differentiate that and say, okay, what's the truth here? Again, that phone call from my mom, what's the truth here? What should I be doing? And trusting this inner voice. The inner voice is the one, your voice, right? Your intuition is the one that you want to be trusting, because that's the place where you're going to feel the best. That's the place where you're going to be able to face the mirror day in, day out, and really be proud about what you do. It's a different level of energy. And when you build that connection, watch how strong you get when you listen to that voice inside of you.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that I'm trying to do more of. Listening to what I know I should be doing, and it's just recently I actually started doing that, and I'm doing it, and I can see the benefits. I can see the benefits. With the parties, for example, because I mentioned the parties, I went. One of the things I'm trying to do is bring in new people, meet new people, and one way to do this is either I go out there and ask people to come with plus ones, or I meet new people. And 2 weeks ago, I was in the city center and I was walking around and I was like, oh, maybe I should go talk with the business, and maybe who knows what's gonna happen. I walked in the city center with like a totally different thing, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, oh, let's not do it. Like, why would you do it? Like, and then a week later, on the weekend, I was again in town, and I walked past a business that I thought, oh, that looked interesting, and I walked past it. 5 seconds later, I was like, no, let me go back. I'm gonna go talk with them. I spoke with them.
I love it.
I spoke with them, and they said I'm gonna come to a party, and then I was like, interesting. And then I went to the next store, and this store, it's a Portuguese store that I've always wanted to go up to and say, would you want to come to the podcast, or would you want to like do something? And I walked past it again. I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go home. I've already like had a win. Why would I need another one? I walked past it. I was like, no, let me go in. I went in. I sat down with a nice woman there, and she said she was gonna come to a party. I was like, oh my god, no one. I thought people were gonna say no. I was crazy. I was like, okay, cool. Then I went out again. I was like, maybe that's enough. I'm gonna go home now, and I'm just gonna like relax. I have 2 wins, right? No, I went past another store. I was like, let me just try one more time. And I had a third yes. I had a third yes. I was like, this is incredible. I can now go home. I did go to like 2 other stores, but I was like, but they didn't have the right people there, so I couldn't get a fourth yes. But I was like, oh my god, I just listened to what I wanted to do like a week before, and it's great. I'm just gonna do more of it. And matter of fact, today I walked into town, I did the same thing.
Yeah. So intuition always guides us, but our mind creates all these like excuses. So this is the pattern that if we break it enough times, like you are going to become a very powerful person if you learn how to break that pattern, right? So that's what the repetition does. So that's what, when sales, it's the more reps you put in, you break those mindsets. So the more times you're doing this, you're breaking the mindset. And that's, again, the brain is created to create all these fear patterns. And so when we see that, okay, the brain is always creating excuses for us not to do something, and we have to fight through that, that's a hard skill to learn for so many people, right? Because they fall into that mindset of the fear. I shouldn't do that. No, I'm gonna interrupt somebody. Oh, it's not gonna be appropriate. All these excuses that go into our mind. And so, man, like I said, you're already doing all the stuff that we talk about. And even, again, a lot of people are doing this in real world. Like even when you talk about, I need to get more people in and different people in. So again, we teach it in a way where it's like, we call it like the referral system, right? So there's different ways that business will teach it, but a lot of this is practical, real life examples, stuff that we're already doing. Right. So again, we don't need a school to teach us this stuff. Like you're already doing this stuff, right? And it's stuff that we all are doing, but sometimes we just be like, oh, okay, oh yeah, hey, I'm building a referral network, and okay, that's a business skill, right? And how do I leverage it? Well, I leverage it with my current audience, right? So going back to my current client base, Now I know how to build, more clients based on the same clients that have already been with me. And so because they've trusted me, now I can get, so again, like there's different ways that we teach us in business, but the truth is like, it's just common sense, right? Like for some people it's common sense, right? Like what you're doing already, right? So you may see people, trying to teach like different levels of this, but I'm telling you, like what you're doing is already like everything that an entrepreneurship goes through. And it's a lot of it just solving your own problems and just asking yourself the other question. And that's exactly like the things that are going to get you super successful. And like I said, as soon as you find the right opportunity, all these skills that you're developing, like don't forget about them. And that's the only thing that our program is all about, is just to help people remind you of all the basic fundamentals that sometimes we forget about and we stop doing because we let that voice come into our head that says, hey, just walk past, man, don't worry about it. We're not going to bother anyone today. Right? Like, and it's a weird voice, but it's a voice that just keeps you back. And it comes from all sorts of places, right? And the worst one is the one that's already in our head. So we're like, whose voice is that, man? Because like, if that voice wasn't there, like I'd be flying to the moon by now, right? Again, that's something like where Elon Musk has like totally broken that voice. People like him are a good example of people that just like, no matter what, who tells him anything, he's like, no, I'm going to Mars, right? Like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it. So, and then he backs it up with everything that he has. So again, being on the verge of bankruptcy multiple times, but he's the type of person that he just has such a strong faith or belief in what he's doing that he's willing to bet everything that he has into it. More risk, more reward, right? It's a formula. So a lot of these things are just formulas that we just have to follow. And like I said, whether it's Luca doing it, or whether it's Elon Musk doing it, everyone's following that same pathway. The results may be different based on which industry we get into or which environment we're in, but we all have that capability of achieving anything that we want. It's just a level of our thinking. The bigger the problem you want to solve, the more you got to think about, okay, how do I do this on a bigger scale? And you're already doing that. You're already thinking bigger, bigger, bigger. How do I get more people? How do I change this up? How do I make it more entertaining for the people at the party, right? So again, when you're in that service industry, all those skills are gonna relate to something. Watch. So I guarantee, if I talk to you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and if you continued on the path that you're on, I'm gonna be like, guarantee this guy's gonna do something amazing. And again, if I'm looking for a business partner or someone to even follow as an individual and say, hey man, you know what? If I hang out with Luca, this is what everyone in Bass should be thinking about, is if I hang out with this guy, he's going to take me somewhere that I probably couldn't have thought of going myself because he's already breaking some of these patterns of the mind. And he's actually out there doing it. And so if I follow him or be a part of him and support him, then imagine where we can go together. And so again, this is it. This is, I'm not sure if you've seen that young kid that comes on and he talks to all those like millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah,
School of
James.
Hard Knocks or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, James. Yeah, I know him.
Okay, yeah, James.
He's such a cool
So
guy.
same thing, like for sure. Yeah, so he's the guy that's on the camera, but if you didn't have those two supporting people that were doing the marketing and the editing and the cameraman stuff, like there's no way that he would be in that position, right? There's no way that he would have gotten so successful. So learning that, hey, we need team members. If you want to do something exponentially, someone, I would recommend to anyone that wants to be successful, follow someone like Luca and say, okay, hey, how can I be a part of this? How can I make him even better? Right? So there's people that are going to come into our lives at some point that are going to build us up. Or again, sometimes you have to be that person that carries them up. And sometimes like that's part of it too, when you have people looking up to you and saying, hey, Luca, I want to be a part of this. I don't know where it's going to go right now, but if I can be in on the first level or the second level of this, yeah, I like what you're doing. So again, I would encourage, whoever's viewing this as well. And if they're in that network or if they're being exposed to this and something's resonating inside of them, to say, hey, I want to be able to try this too. And, again, yeah, based on, smaller equity chunks, see how you want to divide this company up that you're building and say, oh, you know what? All right. Yeah. Again, it's how resourceful can you be versus how many resources you have available to you. Somebody may have that camera already. Someone's probably already in film school and probably already doing something as a hobby, but they don't know how to take it to the next level. Then they say, oh, well, hey man, maybe I need someone that's not scared to talk to people. I need that person on my team, right? Or I need someone that's a good problem solver. And so, yeah, like I said, a lot of these are already those entrepreneurial skills, the same ones that we potentially teach. But then again, teaching can only take you so far. You need people to start doing. And those are the people that get successful, are the people that can take whatever knowledge they're learning and be able to apply it and do it. And that's truly, the people that will get successful. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've spoken for a long time now, and
Yeah.
I guess this will be the podcast.
Perfect. Perfect.
I do have one last question for you, though.
Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned a couple of times, and I'm actually curious. Are you a religious person?
I'm a spiritual person,
Okay.
right? So a little bit different. And this is the thing that I would encourage everybody. Like my friend from Romania, so both of us follow different religions, but we're also both very spiritual. And so that's our bond together. We kind of love that aspect of things of living a good life and being a good human being. And so that's the path that I would encourage everyone to kind of be on. And for me is just understanding, like, I don't, for me, as when I grew up younger, I didn't see the difference between different people. It wasn't until people started bringing that up and saying, oh, hey, here's a different background, or here's the, and, so that, again, you grow up being a single community. And then that's truly what, my vision is for humanity in general, is just for us to kind of get rid of anything that separates us, but figure out, okay, how do we join each other? How do we join together? And again, sometimes sometimes we eat different foods, sometimes we have different practices, but it's about saying, yeah, well, we're all human beings. Let's just work on being good together. And just because I've seen a lot of the other side of things where people aren't honest and people get into deception or people get greedy, or some of the things that I wouldn't want to encourage to anyone. Again, that's the reason why we kind of brought out the platform too, is just to teach it in a good way. And faith has a lot to do with that. If we want to be good servants to humanity and to the world, then I believe faith in any religion pays homage to that, and really there's certain principles there that unite us, that like just like any business, a business had good values and good foundations, and when we follow those as a mission statement, then we can all be good people together, and just learn that it's not just about us. It's about helping each other, loving thy neighbor. Some of these principles that we're learning and how to apply it in real life, and I think that's more important, versus definitely, again, I do follow a certain religion, but it's more based on spirituality and just saying, hey, how do we create a global community and believe in that we're all connected in some way.
I'm asking because I'm seeing all these patterns around millionaires, billionaires. Obviously, you've mentioned the School of Hard Knocks, and one of the questions James asks is, do you believe in God? And then how God has sort of influenced or helped, you think he has helped you in this life and in your business. And there's a clear pattern that most people who are successful are spiritual in that way. And I'm not spiritual. I'm not really religious. Neither is my family, for example. And I'm not really trying to I'm not actively trying to figure it out. I've just observed that there's a pattern among successful people, and one of them seems to be that they're spiritual. And that's why I was curious about it with you, Damon.
And all that means is just being a good human being. Like, again, you don't have to, so again, it's always about just living life and doing it in the best way possible, in a way where you could face yourself in the mirror, right? So there's, like, when we think about sales, one of the first things that comes to mind is like the Wolf of Wall Street when it comes to sales. Like, this guy, I'm not sure if you ever saw that movie, but it's about the stock market and how these guys deceived so many people, and they had this like amazing rise to becoming millionaires, or how who knows how rich they got. But then they went up, but then they went straight down because they didn't have a solid foundation and they were doing it unethically. And so I see a lot of businesses fail in this manner too, right? There's high business failure rates, around the world. And when you see that, a lot of the entrepreneurs that I spoke to, it's either because they got distracted of the actual goal and they forgot to be in service to people and being in service to also your employees. So if you start thinking you're above somebody, and this is where sometimes spirituality humbles people, to know that there's always somebody above us, and that we're truly here to serve. Again, and in retrospect, again, like if you hover on a plane, you can't even see people down below. And that's the real perspective, is that we're really just tiny ants running around in this little tiny ball that we call Earth, right? And so if we really put it into perspective, like again, we all might be busy in this rat race, but what are we really here to do? What are we here to learn? Like you can't even see us from top of a building. You'll see like little tiny people, like little tiny specks. You don't know who James is, or you don't know who Elon Musk is from top of a building, but somehow you put importance to him when he's in front of you, right? But again, you just walk up a couple floors and then you can't even see him. So, so again, it's just that context of saying, okay, do we need to become something for what purpose, right? And so just again, thinking beyond ourselves is something that helps us to be able to serve and gives us that humility to be like, hey, we don't need to take money from everybody or just think about ourselves, but how do we spread the wealth? And these are business formulas that I saw in the businesses that I was at, is that when we allowed employees to make money and we allowed other people to do well in business, that we did really well in business. The owners of the businesses that I worked at did really well when they followed those type of principles. And so I think, when it comes to, again, just straight business ethics, a lot of entrepreneurs would do business just on a handshake. They didn't need contracts. They didn't need all that information. It was like what they said as their word was their bond. And I think, that's what makes true entrepreneurs really, stand out from everybody else, is that they really, it's because they had a fear of something. They didn't want to harm anybody to get their success. And when we realize that that's a formula in life, that if we just follow some of these formulas, then you can be on a really successful business journey, right? When you, again, same thing that you're doing, when you're bringing people together, when you're in the service of people, there's going to be something that comes out of this. It's a formula. And any entrepreneur will just tell you that same formula, that this tested and true many times over, right? Again, Elon Musk, yeah, maybe he's trying to save the environment, or he's got a greater purpose. Even in the beginning, he was just helping people create payment plans where they wouldn't lose their money, right? So PayPal had systems in place that, hey, if you were being defrauded of your money, there was a way to get your money back. There was ways in PayPal to kind of create these systems where somebody could feel the trust of that exchange and not get burned from the other side, right? So everything that he's been trying to do is to be able to help and push humanity forward. So he's thinking obviously about something beyond himself, and it's not about him. It's about a greater mission beyond that. And you see entrepreneurs that all strive to do that. It's like to become better. And to become better, it's just a matter of growth, right? So, again, if we see a flower or we see a tree and we watch it grow, we get excited, right? If you water that plant every day, or you water that tree every day, and if the tree produces fruit, maybe in the first couple of years, it's not going to produce as much fruit. But, give it 5 years, give it 10 years, it produces so much fruit that you can't even eat it all. And so then you say, okay, well, wow, what is this tree that's able to feed, tens, 20, 30, hundreds of people? What is that tree that gives us nourishment and gives us food? How does the ecosystem work? So again, spirituality just helps people think in a different manner. It allows us to say that, hey, if we don't take care of this earth, it may not be able to give us something back. Right? So again, all you gotta do is spread chemicals around your soil, and if you ruin the soil, then you're not gonna have anything to eat. So different principles that are going to come out of it. But yeah, so, sorry to take it on a different tangent here, but yeah, spirituality is just, again, more just understanding like, hey, we're connected in some way or another, right? And definitely there's formulas when it comes to having successful businesses that are long term. You could again, if you're I've seen, unethical people, we've all kind of seen unethical people do really well at certain stages in life, but the long term is usually not good. And so what we're trying to teach over at logistics sales, or what we see with a lot of these people that interview, and the people that usually are faith based, are usually just people that are saying, hey, it's a good structure for long term business success. And those same principles we can learn in a book, and we can learn from each other, and just saying, okay, how do I want to operate as an individual? And I think just operating in the best interest of again, you have to look at yourself in a certain situation, but you also have to be willing to serve and truly solve problems for people. And that's what successful businesses do, is when they solve those real problems and they're able to help people or feel better, right? As well, that's another thing too, is make people feel better, do better, etc. Right? So these principles come from somewhere, right? And some people have just put it into a book and they call it a religion or spirituality. And yeah, so there's for people in life, I think there's that's an option as something to give us a sense of direction. And entrepreneurship is hard if you don't have faith in something beyond yourself. It's a real big struggle to go through it. But usually the thing that pushes entrepreneurs past those pain points, from shutting down or moving forward. And again, a lot of times, I've been in that situation where I've had my life savings taken multiple times, but having faith that if I continue on the right path, that good will happen, has kept me going and has kept other entrepreneurs going. So when you go through those type of situations and you see things that not many people get a chance to witness. And so Tony Robbins talks about this as well. And he says, business is a spiritual game, because you get to realize, for example, like how you turn $1 into millions. How is that even possible? Right? So you get to see the power of multiplication. You see that with, if you put love into people, how when you're hiring employees, for example, how those employees' lives are changing around you. How is that one person able to do that? Right? Turning wine into water, right? So or turning water into wine, whatever that whatever that context is. Or again, we learn these lessons of how if we share our piece of bread, that one bread can feed hundreds. If we're willing to just think outside, right? So these are lessons that we're learning, but we can apply them into business. And then we realize, like, hey, you know what? Yeah, you know what? If every time I pay somebody, I'm having to learn how to give from my pocket, right? It's a hard thing for people to do. It's easy to ask for money, but it's a hard thing to start paying people out of your own pocket. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. So it's teaching you how to serve in a different way. It's a different example of life, right? So it's teaching how to get out of yourself, because otherwise, like, people are just like, hey, how can I make money? Keep it. But you're learning how to give it, right? So it's teaching you lessons about, if the more that you give. So for example, like, imagine you have 1,000 employees, you're probably making some pretty good money if you're able to pay 1,000 people. Even if you're able to pay 5 people, 10 people, right? So again, you're learning these spiritual values, and you're like, how is that possible? Because every time I keep giving it away, like Mr. Beast, how is it that all the money that he keeps giving away, more keeps coming back? Is there a formula?
Maybe he's showing us to you. Maybe they're showing it out to us. Yeah.
So these are things that we can take a look at and say, okay, well, what was that journey like? And we're lucky to see so many entrepreneurs going through that journey, but then we also get to see formulas that are working. Do you think he would be successful if he wasn't giving away so much?
Probably not. Probably not. And I'm saying that because based on the going back to the video you sent earlier, how to do 10 years of work in two. In the first 15 minutes, he was talking about here are 15 keys that if you live by them, then you're already doing more than 95% of the world. And one of them was find ways to give to others.
Yeah.
because in
Yeah,
the
and
end,
these
it
are
will come back to you.
successful. Yeah, and it's not an expectation, right? We do it because we want to be in service. So it's that if we when we have an expectation of that, that's our ego saying, oh, okay, I need. That's not giving then, right? So give without intention of receiving back, but go with faith, right? So faith is like if I'm giving and I'm giving truly from my heart, that's when it truly comes back. And but it's not an expectation. We do it because we enjoy doing that. Mr. Beast when he made his first $20,000. I'm not sure if you heard the story about him when he first, got his first sponsor, and they were willing to pay him $20,000 to advertise for him. And he asked for the money, not for himself, and he didn't have any money at the time. And he goes, I want to take that money, I want to give it to a homeless person. And so, imagine like that first 20 grand that he made, he just gave away all of it. One video, right? 100% all in. And he gave that money away, and look at what happened. Fast forward to today, how many billions is he worth? But he was willing to go 100% all in, and he never got attached to the money. Because if he did, he'd be holding that 20K, and he would have never made that video, and he would have never gone viral, and he would have never kept continuing. But he under something inside him, intuition, right? He had such a good heart, and man, like the amazing things that he is doing today, such an inspiration, even for myself. Such an inspiration watching that young man do what he does. And again, I want to get to that level. It pushes me to get to that level of saying, hey, I can serve more, I can do more, I should be doing more, right? And it's fun, to do that and to do it in the right environment. And he gets to do it with his friends too. And that's such a beautiful thing that we're learning. But we also can look at the formula that, again, his focus is on giving. And again, he's problem solving too, to become the best. And he's always looking at how do I get the next best experience for people? What are people looking for? How can I give them more of what they're looking for? And it's not about what is he looking for. It's about what they're looking for, right? And he's willing to put himself on the line every single time. He doesn't care about how he looks, doesn't care about, he doesn't care about taking those chances. He's willing to do whatever it takes because he probably just enjoys, the thrill of it. And, he's one of those guys who's come out. He's like, yeah, I don't need the fancy cars. I don't need the fancy house. I just like doing videos. And he says that over and over again. And then again, if we look and say money is just a byproduct, yeah, 100% it is. But man, like definitely to be able to live in his shoes and to do what he's doing, man, phenomenal, right? And that's the same thing. Like we can all do it in whatever scale that we want to. And but yeah, I would just encourage everyone, like it's inside you, whatever life you want to create, and whatever you're willing to go after. And he says this too. Not many people watched his first so many videos that he put out. And he overshot even on his goals and his expectations, because when you're in that type of flow, and whether you call it grace or having faith, he already put videos of himself out there, 5 20 years, I think, in from where he already was. So he had this vision he was willing to follow. That's something that we also see from that too, is that he was willing to start. He was doing it for free anyways, but he just kept continuing because he's like, hey, if I could just change someone's life, or if I could just one viewer is watching me, or even 2 viewers are watching me, I'm going to continue to do this. And he never saw the path of money. Like there was no way that someone could have predicted that someone was going to make that much money from social media, right? But he was willing to walk that path, the path that few people at that time were maybe willing to walk. But then look at the outcome, right? Again, it's stuff that when you think about that, there's no real concept that can really explain that to us. Besides that, saying that he listened to something inside of him that led him down that path, and man, thank God that it did, because look at the impact that he had on, again, millions, if not billions of people around the world. Phenomenal. right? So yeah, I mean, amazing. And I just hope people, instead of just seeing that it's just all money, see the actual work that went into it, and see the formula that can be repeatable by anyone that's starting off, and just say, hey, you know what, even if I can get a little piece of that, you know, doesn't have to be at that scale, but if I can even get a piece of that, what can that impact do, and what can that do in my life, what can I do in anyone's life around me?
100% agree, and I think he's a great example of what's possible. And I didn't know that story about him. I think that's a fascinating story actually that you've shared it with me. And one thing that he did say as well, which stuck with me, is I challenge everyone to shoot 100 videos, and by the time you record the 100 videos, you will have changed so much that you won't believe how much you will improve after 100 videos. And I've only done, this might be my 25th or 26th or 27th, somewhere there, and I've already learned a number of things and pivoted and seen what could work, seen what doesn't work. Today in itself, it's a pivot, right? I didn't expect this to be a podcast, and then it just transformed into one, and it's great. It's great. I've enjoyed
Perfect.
every
Yeah.
every bit of it. Damon,
All
thank you
right.
so much for this. Unfortunately, we do this in person. Obviously, I try to do it in person. This is my first ever one online. And I'm saying that because normally there is something I do for the guest. With you, off camera, or when we stop recording, I'll have to explain what the next step is, because normally there is a surprise for the guest, but you're in Canada, so we need to fix that. But yeah, any final words from you?
Yeah, don't worry about any surprise, right? Like, I mean, my biggest my biggest motivation, or the gift that I could ever receive is watching people do good. And so you continuing on your path is my surprise, or my gift, or thank you anyways, right? That's truly the biggest motivation I get, satisfaction that I get out of anything that I do, is just, again, who can we impact, watching people grow, right? It's the most beautiful thing in life. And that's it, for anyone that's watching too, right? I mean, I hope you understand, like, this is just a more of a real conversation that me and Luca were having. And yeah, again, sorry about my shake the last year I was drinking in the beginning. Totally apologize about that.
Oh,
Didn't
that's
mean to
right.
be rude to anyone watching this, but at the same time, it was just a real conversation that we're having. And I hope you just take away and understand that entrepreneurship is just a mindset. And if you just got to see the mindset of Luca, even in this podcast, then you get to see, like, okay, hey, this is what a true entrepreneurship looks like. It's just the thinking capacity, the willing to serve, the willing to yeah, just figure things out. Like that's all it is. Like, a lot of people, when you're looking at trying to move forward in life, is just trying to get unstuck. And I get asked this question a lot of times, like, Damon, a lot of people that may be stuck right now, how would you encourage them to move forward? And I would just say, yeah, just if you're a witness to this episode, you'll truly see about what that inner desire looks like to keep pushing to move forward. And to see real examples of that, and to see people actually going through that thinking process of what that looks like. This is a true example that can be service to so many people, to say that, hey, if I just continue on this path, and I guarantee you, Luca, again, I'm going to say this over and over again, because what entrepreneurs can pick up on other entrepreneurs and know what that formula looks like. And when I see it in somebody, I'm not afraid to say it, right? And I see that in you, Luca, as saying, this is someone that's going to be successful. Continue to follow, his journey, and hopefully create your own along the way too. But if you're willing to just, again, step outside that box and do the stuff that Luca is doing while he's doing his full-time job, and to say, what are other ways that I could serve people, connect people or just do something where I can push forward in life, then the path will ultimately reveal itself. It won't necessarily reveal itself sitting at a standstill or just wishing for it. It's until we start taking action steps is when the path will finally be revealed. And I believe that your path will be revealed, and we'll see that, coming up a year from now, a couple of years from now, whatever, whenever that time is going to be. And again, going back to faith, if you have faith, just understand that it's coming and that you're definitely on the right path. And anybody that's thinking in the same way that Luca is, this is very important to see what, that early entrepreneurship is and what that mindset looks like. And then, again, you'll be able to figure it out further along this path, but you'll see it. And definitely those doors of opportunity, they're invisible now, but they're going to open. And that's something that I'm excited to look forward to. And I hope that for everybody, right? There's invisible doors in our life that we all need to figure out how to get the keys and unlock these doors. But at some point in your life, they will unlock. And the whole thing is, were you ready for it? Were you building your skill sets in preparation of that journey, so when that opportunity comes, you're able to take advantage of it? And so following, again, and having mentors, and this is, not saying myself here in that situation. Like, again, I think Luca here was obviously the better mentor here to be like, hey, here, look, man, it's okay to have all these thoughts, but then putting some action plans to it, knowing that, there's not a clear direction, but there is a direction, and we're okay to pivot. So, being able to pivot is one of those key things that will keep you going along the path that you're meant to be on. And it's not a path that someone has put you on, but it's one that you're meant to be on because it feels right to you. And so I hope, we all find that journey from within and choose to follow it based on what we enjoy in life, based on what makes us happy, and understand that all those pathways are going to lead to something amazing. We just don't know it yet.
Damon, thank you so much for the kind words. Back at you. You're an incredible guy, and you've built a very cool platform, logisticsales.com, if people want to check it out. Please, if you want to talk about the platform for a second, because I can talk about it, but you're the expert here.
For sure. So similar to the conversation that I've been having with Luca, that's exactly what I would love to have with yourself. If you're feeling like you're heading in any direction, or maybe, again, you just want to share your journey with us. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to see how we could, do maybe a 20-minute version of this. Just quick, and just let you know what you're doing right. Let you know where, what your path may look like in that future, and just see if we could just, give you some ideas, right? Again, watch the platform, see how, if anything resonates with you. But simply go to the website, logisticsales.com. All our social media handles are below. Take a look at the weekly episodes. You'll have worksheets that go along with most of the episodes. Download those worksheets. Try to complete the work. It's going to help you reflect on all your skill sets and what you have to offer, and help you create your journey to financial freedom in your future.
Damon, thank you so much.
Thanks, Luca. Bye, everyone.